Did they ever end up putting you on like a payroll, or did they just say go out and earn, but you feed us information?
They knew I was loan shark, and they didn't say anything about it. They also I didn't realize that I was on a payroll. I was allowed up to $100,000 a year, but I only found that out after my second pinch. And I think I sent you that paperwork.
Hang on. So $100,000 is what is the salary of a CI?
It could be that. It could even be more. They paid one guy from the Hells Angels $1 million for doing 1 year work of undercover. He actually regrets it now.
But that's more than a real non-criminal actual federal agent could make in a career.
You see,
it's better to be a rat as a criminal.
Can I ask you a question, John? Let me just ask you this. Do you think they care about that money? Whose is it? It ain't theirs.
No, it's taxpayers.
Taxpayer money. Right. It's like if you said to me, Joe, here's a credit card. What's the limit? No limit. What do you think I'm going to do? I'm just going to go buy a lunch? I'm going to get a car. I'm going to get this. I'm going to get all the good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
It's ridiculous. They don't care. That's why $100,000. But you see, I was so low because this guy wanted to make himself look good. Plus, I never asked for any money. They put a guy, I forget the guy's name. John Jr. was hanging around with some guy. I think his name was Pete. He was an accountant. They were giving him $2,500 a week on top of what he was earning as an accountant.
For the feds?
For like 1 or 2 years. Came out in court.
Wow.
I don't notice. Came out in court just to get information on John Jr. Wow. Yeah. So
you could basically charge up to $100 a year and they would reimburse you. That's how they made the payments.
If I knew that was $100,000 a year, then I would have been able to pay my rent without struggling to do everything I had to do.
Right.
Because $100,000, I was doing my own scams, which some things I can't say what I was doing, but
why not?
I just don't want to get in trouble. Who the freak knows what they're going to watch or say what I was doing. But so on that thing alone, I was making probably $50,000 a year on that alone. And then the other things probably maybe $75,000 to $80,000 a year on my own. Mm-hmm. And then I was on another salary making $1,000 a week, $1,500 a month.
For who?
That was from a girl that I was helping out with her running the business that she was owning. I was dating this girl. She owned a few diners.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. So you were, all right. So you're doing pretty well. Yeah. And you're just kind of independent out there making money with your loan sharking business, a couple of scams. And then, you're starting to work your way into the cruise.
But I had to be careful too, because you see, I knew for sooner or later they were going to want a guy like me around. They're going to want me to do the work. They're going to want me to do all this stuff. So
who, the feds or the mob?
Actually, both.
Yeah, right.
But I didn't really want that life. I still just wanted to find out who killed my father. But I figured if somebody would like me enough, they'd say, "Hey, we knew you for your father." And I said, "What a shame, what happened?" I'd say, sometimes one guy might have said, really, if anything really happened, because they would have figured I was close enough. I was with this guy, Jerry Chili, on my second bid. I don't know. I think I sent you a picture of him. Jerry Chili and me got along like this. I never met him in the street. Now he's a captain. And then we were around another guy, they call him Nicky the Mouth, Nicky Cigars. Nicky Santora is his real name. I think he's an asshole. But he was around when all that Donnie Brasco shit was going around too. And I just didn't like him. So Jerry's the type of dude. Now he's a captain. He passed away now, so I could talk about him. Nicky was having a problem with the telephone. So we were watching TV, Jerry and I, and we were watching it because it's up on high. So Jerry goes, he touches, "Man, what's up, Jerry?" He says, "Look," and I look over there and I see the big black dude giving him a hard time and everything. I says, what do you want to do?" He says, "Let him get beat up a little bit, then we'll go in." Because that's the way Jerry was. He was the type of guy that he was a great, wise guy, hard criminal, did probably more than half his life in prison, stand-up guy to the max. He actually was with the Gus Faraci. I don't know if you ever heard that. Gus Faraci was actually, I think, dating his daughter, and he actually killed an undercover agent, like DEA or something like that, and then they wound up killing him because they were bringing too much heat. Right. But he was a good kid, that guy, Gus,
How did you get into but eventually you do start making your way into the crew, into the Bananas.
Because of Murray, and I'm hanging around with Bobby, and they actually like me better than Bobby.
Okay. So do you remember who brings you in as an associate, you know, just a guy who's hanging around? That's a made guy bringing you in, right?
That was Dominic then.
And that was Dominic, who we've had on this show, Dominic Cicale. Now, Dom had no idea what you were doing. Nobody knew anything.
No.
Did you ever end up giving information on Dom?
Some information, yes.
Wow.
Yep.
What was that information?
Well, before I started giving him information, there was a guy, Willie Marshall, who ratted on some people in the Gambino crime family, and supposedly Peter Gotti, John Gotti's brother, had $1 million contract on his head. They said, you don't even have to bring the body, you just have to give the head. So you chop off the head and you get $1 million. So I told Dominic about that too, and so Dominic said, you know, I kind of knew where he was, but I didn't do it because I knew where he was, and I knew we were going to kill him then. So I didn't want to do it for $1 million because I knew we were going to do it. But Dominic said to me, never take less than $100,000 if anybody asks you to do a hit. So then that's when I knew me and Dominic started getting close. I went and picked him up out of the prison when he got his wife had him arrested on stupid shit that you can't even believe. But
so what information did you end up giving on Dominic?
I basically told him that he was a soldier in the Bonanno family, that he did get bumped up to a captain, you know, little things like that.
Did you ever implicate him, though, in anything serious?
No, they did ask me about the Frank Santora murder because they had heard from other sources that he was in on it. I said, that's the word in the street, but Dominic never said to me ever that he killed him. Right. Well, he never would, and I would never ask him anyway. And
did you get close enough to him where you realized, oh, I don't want to put this guy away? Or were you willing to put anybody away?
No, Dominic and I got so close that there was some things like when he had the sports going on, he actually borrowed $20,000 from me. That I did tell the feds because I wanted to get my friggin' $20,000 back in case he didn't.
Right.
But I think that was a test that he was giving me. And I don't even know. And the FBI agent said, it's a good thing you had the $20,000 laying around to give him. He says, Joe, because it would have took about 2-3 weeks just to get the thing approved.
Right.
I said, and this is how you send me out here? But I did give him the money. And, you know, and then, of course, there was some jobs that I went on with Dominic that I never told him about. Because
what kind of jobs?
There was one where there was a guy, Hippie, that he robbed him a long time ago, and then Hippie was being an asshole to him in the street. I think they bumped each other in this place in a pizza parlor once, and I think Dominic had all to do to hold back. And then he went and told Vinny Gorgeous about it, and then Vinny said, do what you need to do, man, you know, and that was it. So then that was it. He got the okay, and that was it, because Dominic...
What do you mean that's it? He went and killed him?
No, that was it. Yeah, you can do whatever we want to now. So, because, you know, he told Dominic, just be the guy who you are. You be a man.
Right. So you went and touched him up, basically.
We went to go get him at this place because he had talked bad about Dominic, saying all kinds of stuff, that he got a baseball bat shoved up his ass and all of this, and that's not even true. Dominic just took a bad beating. These 3 guys jumped him up there, and you know, and they left him for dead.
In prison?
No, in the street.
Oh wow!
And Dominic was fighting all of them. He's not afraid to fight.
No, so he's a G.
Oh yeah. No. He don't need somebody to come with him. You know what I mean?
So at what point do you say, okay, I need to get out of this? Like, how many years go on before it just became like, I don't know, tiresome?
When I was hanging around with Dominic, I got tired of it all.
Yeah.
Because you see, there's a part of me that it's a normal lifestyle for me. It might not be for you, might not be for somebody else, but this was normal for me. And at the same time, I'm giving information. Like, I didn't know if Dominic was going to be as close as me as we got. I didn't think that. But Dominic had a way about him where you wanted to do something with him. You knew he was, I like real people, if this makes it simpler. I like somebody who says, if they're going to do something, they're going to do it. It doesn't have to be that night, but I know they're going to do it. I like somebody who doesn't need anybody. You know, there's been plenty of times I had to go see people by myself and had to handle my own business too. And I'm not even as tough as Dominic. But I will not let nobody just push me around. Win or lose, that's the way I have to go. But he's somebody I gravitated to easily because there was a lot of things I liked about him. He was real.
Okay, but what I want to know about the informant. You're working for the FBI. You're doing a great job talking around my questions. So I need you to, I want to zone in here because people are going to be picking up picking this up.
I didn't tell on
how many people did you implicate that ended up going to prison? Do you have those stats?
That I don't know, because they never told me who they arrested.
And you never testified in court against anyone?
Not one person, and I never wore a wire.
Wow.
Never had to. The only time I wore a wire was when I got arrested on my second bid against my co-defendant, which I was happily to do because I knew my co-defendant, and I knew he wasn't going to say anything about anything because he didn't know anything. I was bringing up something that was already dead. So when I was trying to implicate him on the tape, it was perfect because he was like, almost like, what are you talking about? So I didn't care, but I never wore a wire.
Wow. So you were like a different level, because there's different levels to informants, right?
Yes.
Like I know that Anthony Ruggiano, who we've had on here, he actually took the stand and pointed at a boss and said, yes, he was involved in a murder. You know, there's different, you know, and then this other guy, he wears a wire. You were like one of these guys where it was almost like just information gathering.
Yes. I was more like a kind of a spy.
Yeah.
But not really. There was nothing that I could give enough evidence for somebody to go away. Like when I had gotten wind of the hit on the judge and the AUSA, I brought that to their attention.
Right.
Okay. But I didn't know, well, I did know who was going to do it too.
Okay. So tell us about this, because Dom actually got the call to do this hit. This is a crazy story. Tell us exactly, reiterate this for us. What happened with that hit or that threat of a hit? Right.
Well, Dominic didn't tell me that he had got hit. Dominic never told me that. Okay.
Yeah.
I had gotten the information from somebody close to Dominic. And so I knew who was going to do it. What happened to the guy who was actually going to do it, his own cousin ratted him out.
Yes. Okay. So give us who gave the order to actually kill a federal prosecutor and a federal judge, which is the craziest thing I've ever heard the mob considering doing.
Well, the reason why they don't want to do that because it brings more heat. But
obviously, but the guy who gave that order,
they said that Vinny gave the order, and it came from supposedly was Joe, and Vinny gave the order to give the hit. I don't really know.
And Joe was the boss of the Bananas.
Yes.
Okay. But he was already locked up, right?
And he was ratting. Right. He set up Vinny. So now I'm not sure if Vinny gave Dominic that order direct. I wasn't there for that. I wasn't privy to that.
Think about that chess game.
Yep.
That Joe is playing.
Yeah.
So he put that hit out.
Yep.
And then let the feds know, hey, there's a hit out.
Yep.
So look at me, get me off. So he put something in motion just to be able to rat, to save his skin.
Well, Joe was kind of dirty himself.
Brilliant.
He hated rats. He said nobody's supposed to rat. And there was also another thing where I thought it could be mistaken, but there was a thing that Joe Messina was going to actually start having funds for people who went away so that it would help them do the bid better and help them not to. That's what I heard. I don't know if it's true.
I can't believe the mob didn't do that earlier. That's what the Hells Angels do. And that's why their guys don't rat usually.
I was in prison on my first bid with a guy named Louis Mena. Louis Mena was with Tommy Karate. They were robbing drug dealers too. Okay. And they were making tons of money. So when Louis gets arrested, I was in the cell with him. We were in Otisville together. Everybody, Frankie Smith, who later on became a rat too, and a lot of other guys, they were all threatening this guy. So I walked with him from the wood shop, and I was with him. Now, all these guys were lined up. They were going to kill him right there. And I was with him, and because I was with him, they didn't do it. Not because they were afraid of me, but because I guess maybe I was another witness. I'm not going to say they were scared, okay? But you see, they're threatening the guy. And Danny Ticchio said to me, a skipper said, Joe, they're threatening this guy. He's trying to do the right thing. Why don't you bring him close to you? Say, you're going to be okay. Do this. Look, you sign up for something, you sign up for something. You know, you're not supposed to rat. This is your job. But why do you shun the guy and act like he's nobody anymore? Look what they did to Dominic.
The mob, exactly. They had no reason. Dominic would have done his time. There's so many.
No doubt.
There's so many guys who if they didn't just push him into a corner, would have done the time and stood tall.
But Dominic had legitimate businesses that he still could have been earning money from. If the right guy was in place, Dominic still could have earned money for his family, and he would have sat there still doing his time, and you would have never seen him on the podcast.
Totally.
I can guarantee you that myself. I would take the blood oath on that right now.
I'm glad they all ratted so we could have this podcast.
Well, yeah.
I got to be grateful for that.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure. But, you know, because I know Dominic.
So hang on. So Joe Messina gives the order to have this prosecutor, this United States assistant attorney killed, and the judge balls. And then he tells on Vinny, who's the person he gave the order to. And Dominic was supposed to be part of that hit.
Yes.
And Dominic was like, yeah, I'm ready.
Oh, yeah.
Which is wild.
The other guy that was going to be with him was ready too.
Yeah.
Because he was going to run right to Italy after it was done.
Oh, so there was a hitter from Italy they brought over as well.
No, he just was going to run away.
Okay, he was just going to run away.
He was a tough guy too.
Now, how did you find out that was going to go down?
I can tell you now because the guy, I don't even know if I told Dominic this, but it was his cousin who told me. Dominic's
cousin who told you? Wow. And then you went right to your handler?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because, I knew it was, I didn't know that actually Dominic was going to do it. It was the other guy who I thought was going to do it. And so that's who I told. Right. I didn't say that Dominic was going to do it. I says the other guy was going to do it.
And what did they do after you gave them that information?
They arrested the other guy.
Okay.
Because they saw his cousin, and his cousin was cooperating with them. I never knew.
Okay. Did they actually end up prosecuting that conspiracy?
I don't know. Okay. I really don't know.
Wow.
I really don't know.
Wow. That's wild.
Yep.
So you may have prevented a hit. Maybe that was just, I don't know. I kind of doubt it would have gone down because did the mob have that kind of power? They have that kind of chutzpah?
Yeah. This guy, the guy that was going to do it, used to ride a motorcycle. And I don't know if they were going to do it in a restaurant or if they were going to do it just outside the courtroom. But listen, Judge Garifas, when he thought the hit was going to happen to him, because I actually wrote him a letter. I said, I'm not actually the guy who was directly involved with saving your life.
Prick.
Yeah, exactly. But he actually gave the letter to my judge because they must have talked. But this guy said, I'm not afraid. Everybody says they're not afraid. Like, you can go in a car. You don't think you're going to get into a major accident.
Right.
You drive.
Yeah.
But don't underestimate yourself. You, me, or anybody. And even people can go after me, Dominic, or anybody else too. But you're going to have a lot more harder time going after a guy like Dominic than you would the judge, because the judge ain't got no bodyguards. But he ain't willing to do what Dominic would do if you try to go after him.
Yeah, right. Right.
That's it.
Wow. So did that earn you any kind of leverage with the FBI? Did that give you more points, more salary, more leeway?
That's an excellent question, John. I'm so glad you brought that up. You want to know why? Because on my second bid, I told the FBI agent, I said, hey, I saved the judge's life. There's other people who said they gave information I saved the judge's life. No. I knew when it was going down. I knew the guy that was going to do it. I said, I saved the judge's life and the assistant U.S. attorney. That doesn't mean nothing to you guys that you arrested me on this stupid charge. You know what he went like this to me? Michael Gator was his name. He went like this. Just a face like that. They didn't even give a shit about their own. The FBI is only concerned with the end justifies the means. They don't care how you get it. They tell your girlfriend or your wife you got a girlfriend on the side. They'll show them pictures. They write letters. They do everything to screw you. So you have no other resource but try to maybe go with them. Because let's face it, you go to jail, most of the time you're alone. Yeah. That's just the way it is.
So tell us about your second pinch. So as you're feeding, as the years go on, this is 18 years this was going on. You're giving them info, but you are a mob guy. Like I'm
an associate.
Yeah, but you're in the life. You're a criminal. Yeah. There's that. You're just happen to be feeding information to the feds.
Yes.
Tell us about your second pinch. How did that go down?
That went down because the guy, this guy Mike that I was hanging around with, he tried to. I tell he was trying to get me on recordings, but I didn't think he was doing anything because I didn't do anything wrong. So I figured I could say anything I want because that's what I was allowed to do. Plus, everything that he ever did with me, the only thing he did, he went into a house to go rob the house. There was supposed to be $80,000 in the freezer. I told him it's not there no more. Don't go. But the other guy that was involved with it told him to still go, and he did. It was all over the news. They duct taped the people and everything like that. It was in Eastchester, New York. He actually testified on the stand for me, for them, as their witness, but he said, Joe told me not to do it. I said, I can't believe he just told the truth. I couldn't believe it. He told the truth. He told the truth about a lot of things up there with me.
I don't get it. What happened?
So they used, I don't
know what you're saying.
They
what
used
was the crime that they charged you with?
They wanted to get me on home invasion.
Okay.
So
were you committing home invasions at this time?
No.
What was your What were you doing?
I was almost a millionaire at this time. I owned $1 million home. I had $500,000 in the bank.
Wow.
I had about over $100,000 worth of jewelry. I had a brand new Escalade prepaid for 2 years, and still making them. I was making money every week.
Right. And so you had from all these different businesses. So
yes.
You had the gambling, the loan sharking.
Yeah, the gambling stopped. I just had the loan sharking, but I was really more legit now too. I didn't even have to I wouldn't loan any more money unless you put money up front. Yeah. Most people can't do that now.
What other businesses did you have?
That's it. I was happy with the money I had. I had the money in the bank, and I was making about $4,000 a month doing nothing. Nothing.
Just sitting on collecting interest, or sitting on a company like.
I was going to invest my money, but also I was supposed to be getting a job, like I told you, in the sanitation department.
Right.
So that was I was going to get out of the life, walk away, and that was it. Because I was an associate, I wasn't trained out.
And you had kind of given up on trying to find out who killed your dad?
I did that, and also, like I said to you before, like I was tired of it. Dominic had gone away in 2005, I think it was, and so. After he was gone, I hung around with Louis Electric a little bit, who was another captain from Queens, and I hung around with him a little bit, but there was nothing really going on with him. He had a few construction things going on or whatever. Actually, Dominic promoted him to a captain because Mike knows what a jerk that dude was.
Okay, so the pain from losing your father and like the revenge that you need to seek, you feel like that's subsiding. You're kind of like letting it go.
I started thinking that this was his life, and maybe it wasn't meant to be that I've ever found out. There might be a reason for it. I don't know. There might be a reason for it.
Yeah. That's valid.
Yeah. So to me, I started walking away, and that's the reason why I started looking at that legitimate job. I was leaving the girl who was supporting me and taking care of me. I was leaving the girl Joanne, okay, that owned the diners. We had broken up, but still the house, the $500,000 $1 million house that we owned was still half mine. We were going to sell it, and we were going to split the money. I was going to go my way. She was going to go her way. We had a nice relationship as far as to go with that. Plus, she was hanging around with another guy called Buddy Israel Torres, a guy who was around Patsy from Rigoletto's in Manhattan, in the Bronx on Arthur Avenue. And I said, go, you could still stick to that kind of life. I don't care.
Yeah.
So I could have walked away, really, because I didn't know anybody, anything.
And you have no time hanging over your head.
Nope.
So the feds don't own you.
Right.
This is a very unique informant situation, because usually the people that are informing are stuck. They got huge sentences hanging over their heads for major crimes. And it's like the feds got you by the balls.
Well, this is the mistake. You
kind of volunteered it almost.
Right.
So it's like you could just walk away.
And this is the mistake I did make. When Vinny retired, he called me up. He says, Joe, he says, he did everything he had to do that day. He says, you're the last person I'm going to go see. Let's go grab a couple slices and a beer. Yeah. I want you to be the last guy before I retire. Now, he had introduced me to another guy. Mike Trombetta was another agent that I helped. I guess I gave information because he wanted to know certain things about whatever. I forget what it was. And so he says, you don't have no problems working with him, even after Vinny retired. What I should have said was, you know something, Vinny, you're retiring. How about I retire too? Yeah. But I didn't know if I could or not, really, in a certain way. But I says, because I figured I didn't have to give them any more information if I didn't, like if I wanted to walk away, like get the job, I would have been like, listen, I'm working now. Yeah. I could have just told them like that. They would have let me go. There's nothing to do. So it was only the second bid that I got pinched on, that they wanted to say you got this murder for hire over your head, that it was going to be like, you got to do what we say and that's it.
Right.